Hello again and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to have a learning experience by going through questions and answers related to job interview questions that were asked by people on the website Quora. I started spending time on this website only recently, and I found that by answering questions related to your field of interest not only gives you a broader perspective of how differently people think, but when you start providing answers and advice to people, it also helps to brush up your own knowledge. In the last 2 months on this website, I have managed to answer around 260 questions, and I selected 20 interesting questions with different perspectives to share with you today, which will provide us the opportunity to see things from others' perspective and to seek new answers. So let's move on to the screen and have a look at the questions and the answers that I provided. So let's start with the first question. What do you do if you make a mistake in an interview? My answer is, it would depend on what kind of mistake you have made. Kindly do not consider providing wrong information or lying to the interviewer as a mistake. If it is a genuine error in something you stated by mistake, you can just admit it as soon as you realize it and be open about it to the interviewer. This might even go in your favor by displaying your honesty and your ability to accept your mistake. A mistake is acceptable, a lie is not. Here's an interesting one. How do recruiters decide who to interview? Well, through the quality of the resume and which candidates match the requirements closely. With over 80% of companies using the ATS, the applicant tracking system, your resume gets a percentage score by the ATS, matching the required qualifications and skills. That is why it is critical for you to review the job description very closely and update your resume to match maximum number of keywords you find in the job description. Now I have a special video on my channel addressing this very question, and I have explained in detail how you can extract keywords from the JD and add them to your resume. So have a look at that video if you would like. We move to question number 3. What is the STAR interview technique? Very interesting question. And I think for those people who are not aware about this, it will be good information. The STAR technique means to use situational questions to find out if the candidate has the ability to work in a particular situation or work-related circumstances. And the STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. Some of the classic examples of asking STAR questions are: can you tell us a time when you resolved a conflict between colleagues? Can you tell us about a situation where you had to look after the responsibilities of another colleague who was absent? Using a STAR technique, the interviewer is looking for specific examples of how a candidate reacted and performed in a particular situation. One of the most common and critical mistakes that candidates make during the interview while responding to such a question is that they start telling about generic situations which might have taken place during their job experiences. This is incorrect. I faced this situation with many candidates while interviewing for the Emirates Airline Group when we asked them the question, how would you deal with an angry passenger? And I can tell you that most of the candidates failed to narrate a situation which they faced directly, and what we are interested to hear from them is what actions did they take to overcome the situation and resolve the issue. Moving on to question number 4. Would I get hired if I'm nervous in the interview? My answer is, being nervous at an interview is quite normal and human. What could make the difference between your getting selected or rejected is the level of your nervousness and how well you cope with it. You must be able to respond to all questions in a sound and understandable manner. These 2 points should help you. Number 1, interview preparation. Make sure to put in maximum efforts and time in practicing the interview answers. The more you practice the answers, the more confidence it will give you. One of the best methods is to write down the answers to the most commonly asked questions and speak them out to yourself repeatedly into the mirror. While at the interview, openly inform the interviewer that you are a bit nervous and that you will take a few seconds before you start answering the questions. In most cases, the interviewers agree. This will not only allow you to think about the answers before replying, but it also helps in creating a more relaxed environment, which goes to your favor. And one more advice that I have not mentioned here, but I would like to give you, is that in such a case, it is best to talk a bit slowly and use common easy words in your answers. Question number 5. Is it negative to answer "I don't know" in a job interview if the question was specific to the position you would be trained to do? There is always a possibility that you are asked a question at an interview to which you either don't know the answer or you are not sure of. In such a case, it is not advisable to simply say "I don't know," but there are ways to counter such a question in a better way that it does not negatively impact the whole interview. The thing that you must avoid in all cases is to bluff an answer. In case the question is related to your work experience or the functions that you are supposed to know about, you must try to inform the interviewer diplomatically that the answer to this question does not come to your mind immediately, and maybe you can think about it and provide an answer later during the interview. This should be quite acceptable and better than not providing an answer at all. Question number 6. Should I continue interviewing for different positions within the same company even though they have already turned me down for 3 different jobs? My answer is that the logical answer to this question would be, why not? Maybe you would be more suitable for this position than you were for the other positions. And if the company accepts your application and invites you for an interview, give it your best shot. Question number 7. How do you deal with an unhappy customer interview question? There is a method to answer this question that includes many important aspects of what you must cover in your reply. Points to include in your answer: what is most critical when facing an angry customer? If you cannot provide a solution immediately, what do you offer? And the third point, how do you ensure the customer remains loyal to your company and your brand? Everything is explained in detail with answer examples on my YouTube channel. Question number 8. What is the number one answer you get from the interview question? What is your greatest weakness? This is also a very important question. It is important for you to practice the answer for this question if you have an upcoming interview. There are certain basic guidelines that help you to prepare the best answer to this question. And I have put down some guidelines. Mention only one weakness of yours in the answer. Make sure that you practice explaining that weakness prior to the interview. And select a weakness which is not closely linked to any of the skills required for the position you are interviewing for. And the third point, make sure to mention a weakness that can be removed or reduced through practice, training, or mentoring. You can get the best answers to most interview questions, including this one, on my YouTube channel. Number 9. Do you usually do better at interviews after you have done a mock interview with a trusted friend? For sure, yes. Practicing the most commonly asked questions not only ensures that you can provide the correct answers, but also increases your level of confidence. Taking mock interviews online or with the help of a friend is one method, while the other method is to write down the answers and read them out to yourself in the mirror. Number 10. What should you not say when answering the question, why did you leave your last job? This is an interesting and for many people a very important question. So listen up carefully. Do not talk negatively about any of your past roles or companies, even if you have had bad experiences. The best is to say something like, I realized that there were limited growth opportunities in my last job. And when I reviewed your company profile, I found it to be more aligned to my skill set and my character. Question number 11. How can you find out why you were not selected for a job for which you applied and met all the qualifications? My answer: your question is not clear whether it is a situation where you only applied for a job or if you went through the selection process and the interview and were not selected. In both cases, it is usually difficult to know about the reasons for not being selected. However, if you have been through the selection process, you may request the company to provide you with a feedback, which some companies do. Now, if you receive a feedback about your application, then the best thing you can do is to look at how you can use it to improve the areas highlighted in the feedback. The other thing that I would like to clarify is that your holding all necessary qualifications is not a guarantee for being selected for any job. There are a number of other requirements that the company or the HR would need to consider while making their decision. There might be candidates with similar qualifications as yourself, but with more experience or skills than you. Stay positive and work on continuous improvement through learning. Question number 12. Is it appropriate to be on the interview team that's filling the position you're moving on from? Yes, there is no reason why you could not be part of the panel. In fact, if the situation allows, it would be ideal for you to be in the team, as you know about the actual functions and responsibilities of that position better than anyone else. Number 13. What is the best answer about experience? If you are asked about your previous work experience at an interview, the best way to reply is to start by telling them about your last job and go back to the previous experiences in a very brief manner. All you need to tell them about is the name of the company, the position you held, one or two most important responsibilities in that role that you performed, and any achievements that you managed during your previous experiences. There is a lot more help you can find on my YouTube channel, but my request is always to keep your answers brief and to the point. Number 14. How do I answer diversity questions in an interview? This is a good question again. There are a number of ways that you can talk about diversity as being part of your skill set and to some extent as being part of your character as well. This could ideally be used to answer interview questions like tell us about yourself or tell us about your strengths. So you could use diversity as one of your strengths. Diversity can be explained in two ways. One, that you have the ability to accept and be part of teams with people from diverse backgrounds, cultures, nationalities. Number two, that your skills, capabilities, and experience allow you to fulfill diverse roles and responsibilities. Question number 15. Do employers expect you to negotiate salary during an interview? Most companies leave the salary negotiations for a later stage. However, as a candidate, you must always be prepared to discuss and negotiate it at any stage of the selection process. You may contact me if you need help on how to get the best out of the negotiations. Number 16. How do you rate yourself in a skill when asked in an interview? Well, the best way is to link the skill with some evidence. Mention a credible achievement that you attained during any of your past work experiences which is closely related to the skill that you would like to highlight to the interviewer. For example, for interpersonal relationship skills, narrate an incident where you successfully managed to resolve a conflict between two colleagues at one of your past jobs. Number 17. Can you tell from the interviewer's attitude that whether you are rejected? It would be highly unprofessional for an interviewer or a hiring manager to show his inclination or his feelings during the interview. I sometimes had candidates in front of me for an Emirates airline position whom I could immediately consider as unsuitable for the role, but we still went through the standard questions. One negative indication that an interviewer can give is to ask the very minimum questions and end the interview. As a candidate, you might have only a slight chance to recover by quickly assessing the possible reasons for such a situation. And what you could do to recover is another subject of discussion. Number 18. Is it appropriate to talk about strengths during interview answers? For sure, yes. You should always expect and be prepared to answer questions about your strengths and weaknesses. The key to success is practicing the answer well. In case you are not asked this question, try to highlight some of your character and skill strengths while answering a question like, tell us about yourself, or even why should we hire you? Question number 19. How do I write a follow-up email after an interview? If you want to write an email within the next 1 to 2 days to the interviewer, it should only be a brief thank you email and not an email inquiring about the outcome of the interview. You must wait a reasonable amount of time, which may normally range between 2 to 4 weeks, before writing to ask about the status of the recruitment process and the outcome of your interview. Here I give some points about how to write the email. Start the email by mentioning either the name of the position that you were interviewed for or any job reference number. Remember that the recruiters and hiring managers may be involved in several recruitment projects at the same time. First, thank the interviewer for his or her time and mention that you felt very comfortable during the interview and enjoyed the experience, and only then ask if the company has already taken the decision to select a candidate for that particular position. And we come to the last question, question number 20. How do you show responsibility in an interview? Responsibility can be displayed by showing your leadership skills and by mentioning an experience where you went out of your way to help either an internal or an external customer. You can also mention about your sense of accountability for your actions, including your errors. Follow this up by saying that you always make sure the same error is never repeated. So that's it with the 20 questions and the answers that I provided. I hope you found this video interesting and maybe it helped in answering some of your questions as well. Kindly like this video and subscribe to my channel, which will encourage me to produce more such videos for you. Until my next video, it's goodbye from me. Thank you.